Okay, it's now 2 p.m, so we'll start in 2 minutes. I'd be grateful for, in order to keep out any background noise and any screen crashing in the background there, if you could put yourselves on mute. If you want to speak after the presentations, you're welcome to ask questions or put questions in the chat. And as I said earlier, this presentation will be circulated to everybody who registered free of charge later. Going through wellbeing funding in 20 minutes is a challenge, so please bear with me, and we will start this process shortly. There is a longer presentation of about 40 slides, which you can buy for us, but if you don't want to purchase anything, you can, you'll still get the shorter one that I'm going to do now, free of charge, as long as you registered with us by Eventbrite. If anybody registered with us or got our details by other means, if you can email us at info@cntassociates.com, that information and our contact details is in the chat. What we've also got today are two of our usual guest speakers. One is Sybil Mayard, who's a digital services consultant who works with us and will advise you on how to take your project online very briefly. And the other is Rachel Barham, who's are you a regional recruiter, Rachel, or a South East London recruiter for FSB, the Federation of Small Businesses?
Depends what mood I'm in, basically. Officially, I am South East London, but I can recruit for anywhere as long as people approach me outside of that.
Okay, and Rachel will speak for a few minutes a bit later. So we'll start very, very shortly. I've got a presentation which I'm going to share with you. We can just get into it. Do that now. And this is going to take about 25 minutes approximately. My name's Gary Parker. I'm the Managing Director of CNT Associates. We've been in business since 2003, and we do two things. Business support, helping people develop businesses and non-profit making organisations, and fundraising. We also do related training to both of those two issues. If you want more details, look at our website, cntassociates.com. Our new website will be launched very, very soon. So what are we going to look at today? We're going to look at an overview of key funding streams related to wellbeing and where to access them. And you'll get information about a range of potential funders for wellbeing projects and associated websites and other related information. Basically, there are 6 principal sources of funding for wellbeing projects, and we're going to look at some of these and some more general information about them as well. Central, regional and local government, charitable and trust funding, lottery funds, crowdfunding and private sector funding and related trusts, and finally social investment, which is a new form of funding and takes a number of forms, including grant funding or grant funding with a number of strings attached to them, or in some cases loan funding as well. Here, you know, there's a lot of information here. So here are my top funding websites, which will give you information about all of this. There's the Culture, Health and Wellbeing Fund. As I say, we're sending this information out later. There's a website called Funding Central, which is a government-supported website, and it's got approximately 4,500 funding sources on that. You have to do a customized search, but you can register for it for free. All the sources I'm mentioning today are free unless I say so. There are one or two pay websites, but all the others are free. The next one is NESTA, the National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts, and they get funding from the private and public sector and fund a range of opportunities and organisations around wellbeing. They've recently been doing some programs for older people. They do a lot of work for younger people as well. It tends to vary quite a lot, so you need to look at the site regularly. Another is called the EDGE Fund, which funds a lot of less mainstream organisations and projects, obviously mental health and wellbeing, or some aspects of that related to specific groups, often marginalised groups, but they do have a range of other funding sources on the site, which are quite considerable and worth having a look at. And finally, the lottery funds. I'll talk a little bit more about those later, but the small strand of the lottery, Awards for All, is one that is very popular with wellbeing organisations. So again, they're worth looking at. I'm going to look to start with at some of the CV19 related slides. This is for London only. I'm afraid there are other regional sites that are providing support if you're not in London, because we have some people who are not in London at the moment. But the London Community Response Fund is taking applications right now for between £10,000 and £50,000. If you're interested in this, just Google that, London Community Response Fund, and the links will come up. They are funding a wide range of projects related to wellbeing and a number of other issues that have arisen because of the lockdown and the pandemic. The government is supporting a range of activities around this, and they're working with Mind and a number of others. Again, if you want to Google UK Government Mental Health Support Programme for now, and you will get the copy of the slides later. That gives some information about what the government is doing, but there are many charitable trust funders that are working on this as well. One I haven't put on here, it's on the other presentation, is one called the Coronavirus Tech Handbook, which is a very, very good source of information for wellbeing projects as well. They've got so much information on that site. It's quite incredible what they've managed to put up. So that's called the Coronavirus Tech Handbook, which is another one, which again has been supported by some government agencies and some very, very large businesses as well. So one of the issues that I'm always coming across with people who want to work with wellbeing projects is a lot of people try and do things by themselves, really, as sole traders, or projects that they're running themselves. Last year, I worked with a very well-known fashion designer who was, for personal reasons, was developing a health research project, and she invested quite a lot of her own money in that. And what I said to her is if she'd have set up either a non-profit making company, preferably, or even a community organisation, the money she invested could have been used as matched funding for other funders, because that's one of the things about funders. You're not required, for example, with a lottery, you're not required to provide any match funding. But if you do have match funding or other resources you can input into a project, it's much more likely to get funded. So there's a site called knowhowncvo.org.uk, which will tell you everything you need to know about setting up a non-profit making organisation. We've got a package for people that can help them do that. It's quite easy to do, to be honest. You can do it yourself. You certainly don't need our help to set one up, to set a non-profit making company up via Companies House. But we have a package that helps you set it up and gives you some advice about how to manage it as well, because there are some things that you do need to know. But if you're working by yourself, it probably rules out about 90% of charitable trust funders, and most other funders will not fund individuals. There are one or two that will do that, but generally speaking, you've really got to set up an organisation or be part of an organisation to do it. And if anybody wants to contact me after this presentation, I'll give them more information on that. So we'll just look at Funding Central briefly, because it is one of the most well-known sites for funding access, fundingcentral.org.uk. You can do a customized search on that. You have to put certain information into it, and you do need to register for it as well, because if you register for it, you can then hit a button called Create Report, which will create, and you can print out or save a customized funding search as a result of registering with it. So that's well worth doing, and it's free. Nesta, this is one of the funding programs that they've got. Just to give you some idea, really, because they changed them quite a lot. The National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts, they have a program called the Nesta Impact Investment, which they will consider any project that comes under some of their key priority areas, and these do change. So these may not be there at the moment, but something similar probably will. They will consider investments from 150,000 to £1 million around the health and well-being of an ageing population, education, attainment and employability of children, and the social and environmental sustainability of communities. So obviously, well-being is quite a big part of all of those. Well worth looking at. Again, we've got a lot of women today who've registered for this presentation. So the next few slides are organisations that support women-led projects. Here's the first one, Enterprise Nation, which helps women-led startups. Enterprise Nation is the biggest private sector business development organisation in the UK, led by a woman, or founded by a woman called Emma Harrison. It's still going strong. There's a lot of work for the government. C&T Associates are accredited consultants for Enterprise Nation. Amongst other things, because again, you need to check the site. They do provide a lot of free support and advice, or very low cost development support as well. They have an Enterprise Nation Female Startup of the Year, where you can win quite a wide range of prizes and support as part of that. I think somebody's, can you mute yourself? I think somebody's making some noise in the background. The next one is called the Global Fund for Women. This is an American-based charity that will fund any woman-led project, and the other two underlying principles are they support women's equality and human rights. And again, that's well worth checking out. They're always changing the funding parameters on that. but definitely worth having a look. And the final one is the Fredericks Foundation. The Fredericks Foundation is an organisation that supports businesses and non-profit making organisations. They're probably best known for their work in supporting community pubs, but they've been around for 50 years. And one of the things they've got is a women's loan fund. They've got a £2 million provision within that for startup loans of up to 15,000, and then follow-up loans of up to 35,000. Again, there are other funders. This is just a selection of organisations that will support women-led organisations. There's more on the other presentations if you want to buy it, but this one that I'm sending to you will have all of these details on. Okay, we'll move on now and look at some of the central government sites, which are often gateways to other provision and funding. If you're in London, london.gov.uk, but wherever you are, your local authority will be Cheshire, if you're in Cheshire, David, .gov.uk, etc., etc. They are always worth checking out because they usually have information about local support. Then the government is working with the National Council for Voluntary Organisations, NCVO, on a range of things. They support Funding Central, for example. And another one here is with all government tenders and contracts on it, supply to governmenttenders.co.uk. And they've got absolutely everything, because remember, the government buys all types of services, local and central government, large and small. We'll move on now to charitable trust funds. Again, charitable trust funds in the UK distribute about £4 billion a year, approximately. The biggest funder I'm going to mention a bit later, which is the Wellbeing Foundation, which is about £700 million a year that it distributes, and there are many others that distribute smaller amounts of money. So this will not be affected by the pandemic or the lockdown, but of course what the impact will be is that more people will be applying for funding, particularly from well-known sources like the lottery. Where can you get information about this? Funding Central I've already mentioned, and another very good one, it does have a free portal, but you do have to pay for this one. Grants Online is another one. You have to pay, if you want the full subscription, it's about £100 a year for a single user, but there is some free access on that, which is a very good site. That's the two best ones. And then after this, you've got the lottery funds. The best known one, or the two best known sites, are Reaching Communities, which is the main one, which is up to £500,000. That's for more established organisations, or the smaller strand of the lottery, which is called Awards for All, and that's up to £10,000. And even if you're a new organisation, you can apply for that, subject to certain terms and conditions. So we'll move on and look at a number of other funding sources: private sector investment, social investment, local funding, and crowdfunding. I'd already mentioned the Wellbeing Foundation. The director of the Wellbeing Foundation is currently advising the government on the lockdown. They are the biggest charitable trust funder in Britain, and I think the second biggest in Europe, and they distribute over £700 million a year, with grants ranging from 5,000 to 3 million. This is one of the very few where you can apply as an individual but they have about 15 different funds at any one time, and they're all subject to change. So you need to check the site or just Google Wellcome Trust and all the links will come up. One that I've been involved in recently is something called the Public Engagement Fund. And this is aimed at organisations, companies and individuals in any sector who can engage the general public through health research and science. And it can be in absolutely any area, including film, art, digital media, drama, animation, or anything else really. You've just got to make a case for it. And you can get all the information on that from the site, as I said earlier. We're going to go on to crowdfunding now. This is often a way that people use. How do crowdfunding sites work? Well, if you've got a project, they will generally charge you. You don't have to pay up front, but they'll charge you between 4 and 9% of what you raise. And there are lots of these about. I'll mention a couple in a moment. What's key to this, though, is publicity, that you do get publicity off the sites because a lot of people look at them, but you're competing with a lot of other projects on those sites. So you have to do some of the legwork yourself through social media and any other links that you've got or are able to generate through contacts and other partnerships to get people to pledge money, basically. Two of the best known ones in the UK are crowdfunder.co.uk, which will accept applications from both private sector companies and non-profits, and indeed individuals as well. And there's an American site called Kickstarter, which was originally for arts and music, media, that kind of thing, creative industries, but it does now fund other projects as well. You need to check these out and see what they're doing at the moment because they're often subject to change. Here are some other sites. Crowdfunder.co.uk, the one I just mentioned, is probably the best known one in the UK, but there are some others. Another long-standing one is the one at the bottom of this slide, spacehive.com. Again, these are all worth having a look at. So we'll move on now if you're interested in crowdfunding. I'm going to look at some specific funds. Again, this is going back to Nesta. This is a loan fund. If you're interested in loan funds, they've got a 20 million fund offering loans between 150,000 and £1 million. There are some smaller grants as well. These are just examples of what's on offer. Another one that has been doing some work, although the COVID response elements are now closed, is the Arts Council. Again, they fund a lot of arts-related wellbeing projects. They had a funding call and they put out, I think it was about £60 million, but the deadline has gone for that. The Arts Council, the government have just announced a big financial settlement for creative industries. So watch the Arts Council's website because the Arts Council will be one of the organisations distributing funding related to arts and wellbeing, and that information will probably come on stream very, very soon. Another one, again, this is related to both wellbeing and creative industries and the arts, is the Paul Hamlyn Foundation. This is called the Ideas and Pioneers Fund. It's supports people with unusual or radical ideas to improve the life chances and opportunities of people in the UK. And you can apply for grants of between 10 and 15,000 and are available to individuals, partnerships or small organisations. They're one of the very, very few that do that. We've also seen recently the advent of digital and online projects to support wellbeing. So that's one of the reasons I put this slide in. The biggest funder of digital services in the UK. And again, they've just had quite a significant £120 million boost in funding from central government, is Innovate UK. There's a wide range of opportunities on their site, but they come and go, and they go from £5,000 upwards, and there's some much bigger grants for established organisations, and then they have some special programs for women and a range of other support. If you look at that site or Google Innovate UK, you will get all those links. This is another one that I use quite a lot, artshealthandwellbeing.org, and this is a compilation site of organisations that will fund wellbeing. So I'm not going to go into these individually, but just to give you some idea of the organisations that are listed on that site. There's a whole range of them. Some of them, for example, like the Cloth Workers Foundation, will only fund capital funding. That's funding for buildings and equipment. The others will consider funding those items and any other costs you may have in developing your project. So here's the Cloth Workers Foundation in a bit more detail. They accept applications from registered charities or non-profit making organisations. They don't fund individuals, and they do have certain priorities that you've got to fit in order to get funding. But notice on that slide, the grant value is unlimited. I'm never sure what unlimited means. I think what it really means is if they really like your project, they will give you significant funding. But how you get there is a different matter. But nevertheless, there are many organisations like this around, and I suspect most of you have never heard of them before, but this is one of them. And this has been around, as you can see from its title, for many, many years. Another one is, again, this is a very big funder, you may not have heard of it, called the RAIN Foundation. They have a number of priorities that they support, and amongst those that are applicable to people on this presentation are young people's improved mental health, arts as a tool to achieve social change and improve quality of life for carers and older people. You can apply for up to £200,000 on that particular programme, and there's no deadlines on it. It's open year round. There's some big funding on that site. Another one that you may well have heard of is the People's Postcode Trust. Again, this is funded through the Postcode Lottery, which advertises on TV. This is for charities and non-profits, and the grants range from £2,000 to £20,000. The final funding round of 2020 is coming up very shortly, and is from the 4th to the 19th of August. It is a very short application form for that, though, as indeed are many of the ones that I'm highlighting today. Some of them aren't. The larger amounts of funding aren't necessarily short, but many of the other ones are. So you can do it yourself if you've got the time and inclination. Here's the innovation funding vouchers. Again, a bit more information about this. There's about, on the Innovate UK voucher programme, there's about 10 other funders on there, or other funding streams rather, on there at the moment. And they do have some significant amounts of money attached to some of them. Another one that I mentioned earlier is Awards for All. Right at this moment in time, it's focused on support for organisations that are addressing issues around the pandemic. That's one group of organisations they're supporting, and the other group is those that will be supporting vulnerable and or marginalised groups in the aftermath of the lockdown and the pandemic. That will go on till October, and then it will go back to considering any project that fits their priorities. But till October, it's all CV-19 related. So any project you put forward will have to have some aspect of that, and they give full information on the website about what their priorities are around that. Another very big funder, UK-wide one, is this one, the Esme Fairbairn Trust. And again, wellbeing is a key aspect of this. They fund a number of projects around cultural activities, education and learning, the natural environment, and participation of disadvantaged groups or communities. And well worth having a look at. That's an online application. Finally, I just want to, I mentioned right at the beginning about setting up structures to support the work that you do. Two organisations that will do that are Inspired to Enterprise, which is gives advice to anybody looking to start, run, finance, or partner with a social enterprise. And another organisation who I work for on and off called Social Enterprise UK, which is the largest social enterprise membership organisation in the UK. For a small organisation, it will cost about £75 a year to join, but it is well worth joining if you set up an organisation, because the contacts you can make through that organisation are very significant, and they have a number of groups dedicated to health and well-being that they run. Indeed, I think they even have a conference on that issue. As I say, this presentation will be going out for free. If you want the more detailed presentation, it's available from us for £12 for an online copy, or £18 for a hard copy. But I'll stop the share there, and then I'm happy to take questions from people, or you can put them in the chat as well. Any questions? Just raise your hand or raise the online hand. Okay, while you're doing that, I will introduce our next speaker, Sybil Mayard. Sybil, over to you.
Hi everyone. Firstly, I wish you all the best during these difficult times. So what I do is I work as an IT consultant on a freelance basis. I provide web development and search engine optimization services for small businesses. So whether you have an online presence already, or you want to take your wellbeing project online for the first time, then I can definitely help you with that and set that up for you. If you don't already have an online presence, then I strongly recommend to at least set up a website. And so if you need any more information or you'd like to get in touch, I will leave my details in the chat. Thank you very much, and hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, Sybil. If anybody wants to ask Sybil any questions, just put it in the chat. Somebody's asked me about the slides again in the chat. The slides I've just presented will go out free within the next week. If you want the longer one, that's the one you have to pay for. That is approximately 40 slides. The one today was approximately 20 actual slides. Anybody else want to ask myself or Sybil any questions? Okay, what?
Hi Gary, Annie Gibbs has her hand up.
Sorry, I couldn't see that. Annie.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. I was introduced to this platform via my mentor, Loretta, from SIL, the SIL
yes,
program. And she suggested that I introduce myself to you and to ask you whether you provide kind of like some support around building an application. Like, do you do any workshops on how to do that?
Yes, we actually, in more normal times, we run workshops, both from our offices, which are here in the London Borough of Bexley, and in other locations as well. But obviously, since the pandemic started, we're not allowed to do that. So we've focused more on the funding aspects of the work that we do, because obviously that's what people need to know about. The more technical aspects of bid writing, we will be running some online workshops about those, probably from September onwards. But what we've focused on recently in a number of areas is more about where the actual funding is first, because that's the most time-consuming element of fundraising, to be honest. Bid writing, once you learn it, is not rocket science, take it from me. Boring and detailed it is, but compared to a lot of the work that some of you I know do on this presentation, it's relatively easy. But yes, we will be doing that, Annie. The other thing that we do, again, it's on our main emails if you want to check this out, is we do online mentoring. I found, the cost is fairly low. There is a charge for it. I found that supporting people on a one-to-one basis is a lot easier, particularly if you've got a particular application or an aspect of an application that you need support on. Then we can help you to address that much more easily. And we do that by Zoom. We've also very recently, because our building's just reopened, we've had some socially distanced meeting. And from those of you from South East London, I even had a meeting with somebody on Erith Pier, of all places.
Oh, wow.
Which was quite interesting. Not one of the world's most romantic locations, to be honest, but it was a safe social distance meeting. So we are still doing that. So if you're interested in that, Annie, contact me outside this meeting and I'll give you some more information about that.
That would be perfect. Thank you. Because I've recently been approved as a community interest company, so I know that my work is definitely benefiting. So that would be great if I could catch up with you outside of this meeting.
Yeah. Just email me and we'll arrange a call or something like that. Anybody else got any other questions about this? So please stick your hand up, or Heidi.
What's Just Giving then? Is Just Giving like crowdfunding, or is that something different?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, you can do that as an individual. I think it's not something we get too involved in, to be honest, Heidi, because it's more for individuals, really. It's not for, or we tend to work with organisations. I do work with some individuals on a development basis, but as I said earlier, if you want to get any real funding, you've got to set up some kind of an organisation, and that, particularly in Wellbeing, that is the part that often is the most challenging for people. But there's a number of things you can do without going into the details now, but this is one of the things we do with our online mentoring. For example, I'll give you some examples of some of the things I've done recently. I've helped 6 health visitors and or midwives to set up a non-profit making organisation that has already taught 6,000 women how to breastfeed. I'm also helping somebody else to set up a boxing project. This is a project focused mainly on men, but it also has a strong well-being aspect, because the coach on this is often consulted on issues that men find very difficult to talk about. You know, another excellent project. That's two projects. They both come out of the pandemic, really. So, you know, this is a growth area around wellbeing and related areas, because it has had quite an impact on people. And sadly, I suspect, you know, if we're heading into the economic times that people are saying, you know, there's going to be a lot of well-being issues, as well as the economic fallout from all this. But, you know, there are things that you can do. There are things that people are already doing. So it is worth investigating all of this, even if it's a challenge sometimes.
Is it worth then running a non-profit as well as your own business?
Yes, you can do that. Yes, you can. This is where people often get confused. You can run a non-profit, you can run it with other people as well, and you can run your own business as a sole trader. There's no, if you think about it, you know, if you were very rich, you might have, you know, interests in 20, 30 businesses. It's no different, and self-employed income. So yes, you can do that. I used to do it myself at one time, and I know many other people who do that. You know, they're involved in some businesses full-time, others part-time. It depends, but you know, there are some structural issues. Again, if you want to contact me outside of this presentation, I'll be happy to give you further information and advice. And there is a lot of support online you can get, and support from other sources that is available to people.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I thought you'd run away then, Rachel. I was just about to bring you in. So I'll hand you over to Rachel Barham, who's the regional recruiter for the FSB, who'll tell you about the support that FSB can provide, Federation of Small Businesses can provide if you become a member.
Could I share my screen just while you're talking?
Sure. Yeah. That's, right. Okay, there you go.
Perfect, thank you. I know some of you have seen this quite recently, so apologies that you're having to view it again. But at the same time, if you've not registered yet, there's a reason why you're having to watch it again. So, as mentioned, my name's Rachel Barham. I am the membership advisor for FSB, which is the Federation of Small Businesses. I actually cover South East London, so the SE postcodes. But for those of you that aren't based in SE, that doesn't mean you can't work with me. It just means I wouldn't actively necessarily come out and see you at your business. So feel free to have conversations afterwards if you want to. For those of you that aren't aware, the Federation of Small Businesses is a not-for-profit organisation that campaigns on behalf of the self-employed and small business owners. So we basically give you a large voice within local and national government. We've been going 46 years this year, and we have over members. And for us, which is nice, we are the government's most trusted organisation when it comes to the voice of small businesses. We've been doing a lot of work recently because obviously so many businesses have been severely impacted by COVID-19. So for those of you that maybe are slightly further along and still have questions or don't know where to turn for maybe reopening businesses or specifics around yours, there's a lot of information on our website, which we've aptly named the Corona Hub. But you can find it under campaigns, or literally it should be one of the first bits that pops up, but it gives you a lot of up-to-date information and useful links. We've also recently developed, and you don't actually have to be a member to access this, a lot of businesses have had to adapt to how they were originally working. So social media has been an area where maybe they've had to quickly upskill themselves. So if any of you do need any sort of quick tips and useful information, under the Skills Hub, there is about 5 or 6 different webinars on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., to give you some quick starters, I suppose, and to help you make the most of it. Also, which I suppose falls quite nicely in with what you're all doing, we've got the Wellbeing Hub. So you do have to type it into the search tab to find it, but that gives you some useful introductions, some videos, and help you find potential services that you might need, because it can be quite isolating being a small business owner. So there's a lot of support packages there for you and pointers, I suppose. And then I think, somewhere I've met some of you before, FSB holds absolutely loads of networking events. So they're across the UK. So whether that be in South London, which obviously the ones on the screen are Lewisham and Hackney, and that's because I co-host those ones. But we hold them whether it's up in Manchester, Wales, Northern Ireland, you name it, whichever part of the country you're in, there will be networking events going on. Now, the good thing at the minute is because everything's online, and because we're not for profit, they're free. So you can go along to any of them. You don't have to be a member to go along to our networking, although when they are up and running and face-to-face, they are normally chargeable events. You still don't have to be a member, but a member will get it cheaper than a non-member. So it's worth going along to those things to see what you can, what support you can get out there as well. We've got two types of membership. So they both fall under Business Essentials. So I suppose the most obvious question is, who can join FSB? Basically, if you have a small business, so whether you're self-employed, sole trader, freelancer, contractor, limited company, partnership, whatever you want to term yourself as, and you have less than 250 employees, you can become a member of FSB. It's a personal membership, so you as an individual are the member, and in turn that then protects your business. If you own your businesses with anybody else, they can also become members as well in their own right, and that's where the other type of membership comes in, because it's called associate membership, and that's a cheaper package. They get all the same benefits, but you are the full member with all the exclusive benefits that you get and cost savings, etc. This gives you a bit of an idea. So there's lots of reasons why you would become a member of FSB. Some people do it literally just because it makes them feel that they're part of an organisation that is out there to protect them, to look after them, and feel like they've got an army behind them. Others will do it just because of the networking. Some want to be involved in lobbying and campaigning, but then you've also got the benefits side of things. So these are the areas where it can save you a lot of money, and gives you a lot of services that maybe you hadn't even thought of as a small business, especially if you're starting out. For me, the best ones, and hands down why every small business should become a member, is the legal side of things. So we offer our members unlimited legal advice, business related, via the legal helpline. Now that's a helpline that's run 24/7, 365 days a year, and gives you access to a bank of solicitors for all different business questions, I suppose, including commercial, employment, tax, VAT, health and safety, you name it. They're on hand to give you all the advice and support that you need for free. You've also got linked to that what's called the Legal Hub, and on there you've got access to approximately 1,000 documents that you might need as a small business owner. Again, that could be things like terms and conditions, employment contracts, non-disclosure agreements, GDPR, intellectual property, various different policies, you name it. The chances are those documents are on there, which saves you money in either going out to solicitors and paying for those things, or downloading them off Google, where potentially there's a risk that they're not up to date and they're not necessarily worth the paper they're written on at times. But for the industry you're in, there's lots of different support there. There's updated health and safety advice, and you've got a helpline for that as well. Plus there's lots of different insurances that you get given for free, including legal protection cover, tax investigation protection, cyber protection, and much, much more. So that just gives you a snapshot. I won't go through all of them, else we'd be here all day, but it gives you a bit of an idea. That's literally, it's a screenshot of what the Legal Hub looks like. So if you become a member, you have access to the Legal Hub, which is accessed via the website. And then within here, you've got lots of different sectors that you can dip into for the types of different documents that you might need. But it just gives you a bit of an idea of what it looks like. I suppose the most important thing, the first question that I ever get asked is how much it costs. So FSB membership is based on the number of employees that you have. So if you are one-man band, it's £177 for the first year. So that's the equivalent of a half an hour's call to a solicitor. You've got access 365 days a year. So you can call him every day if you want to. Hopefully you don't need to, but the services are there for you. And it actually goes down because in the first year you pay a registration fee, which is £30. So it would actually go down to £147, assuming that you renew it. If you own the business with somebody else and you want them to also become a member, which is advisable, but it's your business, you spend your money how you want to, they can become what's called an associate member. For the first year it's £95 and then goes down to £65 after that. That's run through everything very quickly. What I would like to, I suppose, offer, it's very much everything that we do is non-pushy. It's about giving you information, and if there is any of you that would like to have a chat so that we can run through which benefits would be of more interest to you and your business, let me know and we can have a chat and see if it's something that you might be interested in joining. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Rachel. If anybody's got any questions now for Rachel, we've still got a few minutes left. We're happy to take them. If not, you can put them in the chat, or all Rachel's contact details are there, including her phone number, email address, and other contact information. I would endorse FSB membership for those of you who think it might be applicable, as I'm a member myself. As I said earlier, this Wellbeing presentation that we've got, this is the second one that we've done in this particular area. The first one, for those of you, there were one or two people that were on the original one, was a presentation about wellbeing as an issue itself by Raymond Sheehy, who is the Chief Executive of Bridge Support, which is a very large London-based mental health organisation. Raymond can't be with us today because he's doing another presentation, but we're going to run this again, and hopefully he will be joining us on that. There may be some further information about funding. We might look at some structural issues as well, but I'm hoping to get him back. That will be towards the end of August. We will be circulating information to people. So if you're not on our website, and I think well, all of you should be today. If you've got on without registering with us, well done. It's info@cntassociates.com, and you can join our network. We've got some other ones as well. We're developing a tech network, which is quite interesting, what's been arising from that, and we're doing one in creative industries as well as a more mainstream presentations on business funding. That will come back soon as well, because if you set up a business, there are other potential funders that could fund the development of your business, whether it's through grant funding, loan funding, or other support. So that is one thing to bear in mind. Of course, we work with charities as well, but the way things are at the moment, setting up a charity can be quite difficult, and it's certainly time consuming at the moment. It will probably take about 6 months on average to set up a charity, whereas non-profit making companies can be set up within a day. So that's where we've tended to focus on. But if you're a charity or want to set up one, we do work with those as well. Has anybody got any final questions about what we've spoken about today? No, I can't see anybody. So thank you very much.
I just add one last thing, and Sod's Law, I can't see any on the website at the minute, but normally FSB hold quite a few events specifically around health and wellbeing. I know they did one a couple of weeks ago. just because we're on here. Of course, there's none on the website now, but keeping an eye out, and of course, when they pop up, you can just book yourself on and attend any of them, because you don't have to worry about whether they're local at the minute, do you?
Yeah, yes, that's quite right. I mean, obviously, we will try and publicise those as well. If you want to get somebody, incidentally, Rachel, from your Wellbeing network or whoever presents it, to talk to this network, I'd be happy to facilitate that. We will be sending today's presentation out within the next few days. If you want the longer one with more detailed information, and the presentation from the last Wellbeing event that was provided by Raymond from Bridge, that is either £12 for a digital copy or £18 for a hard copy. We've also got this, if you can see this is our fundraising guide. If you look at the emails, that is £12. It's a 19-page document basically on how to write a bid. I forgot to mention that to Annie recently. I'm quite confident that most of you could write a bid. It's not rocket science, but you do need some structure with these things, and the more support you get, the faster you will learn on this, and then you won't need quite so much support that way. But it's very good to meet people today, all of those who've been on previously, and the new people. A very warm welcome to you, and please stay in touch with us. We'll be providing more services to you in due course. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.